honorary patron of this video is Crazy Ivan. Ivan, thank you for over 4 years of supporting this community. You are the best. Hello everyone, Venus here,
And I am the Loose News Moose Goose.
and this is I Don't Know podcast because we don't know a lot of stuff but like to talk about them. And recently we were not doing this too often because of me. I'm to blame right now because I'm working on a new SFO update, The Great Plan.
And considering the amount of work that has to go to it involving himself and a full team, I think, we can be a little bit lenient about that.
Mm.
This one time.
I will, with every update, I'm always very concerned how long it takes, even with all the resources that we have right now and how many people are working on it. But I don't want to go down with quality.
Absolutely, of course.
Yeah, and
And
Luz, maybe going out from the modding right now. What's up with you for this time that we were not podcasting?
a lot of stuff has actually been going on. I may be suddenly leaving the state that I'm in. I may not. I've started a new job. I may be leaving it for a new job. I may be making a huge purchase that'll take most of mine and my wife's money. That also might not happen. And I was just exposed to someone with COVID today, like within, like really, like high five distance. So a lot's going on right now. I also stream on Twitch. Ooh, okay, whenever I find time, because God, things are so chaotic right now. But yeah, that's what I got going on. What about yourself?
Oh yeah, no, we are not going to talk about any drama that was recently. But as I was saying, I'm focusing mostly on modding and tending to my son and wife. And in around several weeks, through looking on schedule, it should be 3 or 4 weeks. We'll have a second child, but we shall see how it will end. Until this time, I hope to release SFO and have a little break with the family, as you can understand. I hope, but
Well
yeah.
deserved.
And in the moment that we're recording this, because we are recording on Sunday, the first big campaign beta was released for Warhammer, the Great Plan update with Lizardmen, etc., without Beastmen just yet, but we are very close to release, so don't worry.
Hmm.
Oh, yeah, and that would be all. I hope that we will be able to have those podcasts more often. But as I was saying, this is my fault. Always something is an enemy. And as a side note, we recently reworked Patreon of SFO Patreon, and right now it have rewards for this podcast. So on the specific tiers, you will be able to post questions for a special podcast that we'll be talking about, and also have your as a guest in this podcast.
Hmm.
Oh, okay. So that would be all. And getting to the main topic, we have a specific topic today in this. Why should you play Warhammer 2 and why you should not play Warhammer 2? We want to talk about stuff that we like in this game and what we don't like in this game.
I
Because
am fully prepared to get yelled at over this.
because in most people said that we are complaining in podcast most of the time about Warhammer, but we are complaining about stuff that we don't like. All the rest we really love because we love this game. We are playing it for over 4 years right now.
God, how the time flies.
Yeah,
I'm old. Oh no.
that's a not good sign.
My wife's finding gray hairs in my beard these days. It's like
So
mortality.
when you started, because for those that are listening to us and not watching on YouTube, Luz have a long beard. It means that when he started to play Warhammer, he didn't have a beard. You need to play Warhammer to have a beard. As you see,
Oh,
I don't have a beard still, so I'm not playing a lot.
they're too busy modding the damn thing.
Okay, Luz, I think we should go with the good thing from you. First, what's the
Yeah.
good thing why you should play Warhammer 2? It's for a person that is never playing the game and is listening right now.
Do you mind if I go ahead and go first?
Yeah, that's what I said. go with a good
Well,
thing, and I will go with the bad things because all people know that I love talking about bad things.
all right. So, why would anyone want to play Total Warhammer 1 and 2? Specifically 2. I grew up as a wee tot playing various Warhammer games, Warhammer War games like strategy stuff on the original Xbox. I forget the name of it, but that's where I was first introduced to Skaven and a bunch of like how it was actually originally like this miniatures thing, all that kind of stuff. Because I originally encountered Warhammer as a role playing game on tabletop. So I was really obsessed with this campaign warfare thing. It was my I had never encountered anything like this before, and it was like all of my favorite characters that I read about in the lore for stuff actually going at it and having like these cool rules associated with them and yada 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 yada. And it was fine. It was good. And I played several games like this. And then one day, someone introduced me to a mod for Total War Medieval, I think. Medieval 2, I don't know,
Medieval 2.
which was a Warhammer mod for that. And I was just like, oh, oh boy. And I played that for as much as I could. And I was never very good at it because I was like new into Total War. And then I got the official announcement for Total War 4 or 5 years ago. And I just lost my mind. I was so excited. And then I finally got to play the damn thing, and I didn't manage to even get it until Bretonia and the Wood Elves had just dropped. And ever since playing the original Total Warhammer and then moving on into 2, I have never been able to go back to any of those other warfare type Warhammer games. It is such a tin echelon, like tiers above what the other ones were, and it's so much grander in scale, which fits with like the overall theme of Warhammer, everything being so over the top and just enormous, and everyone's like all the characters are there, and they each have their own thing. And as times went on, even the factions from the first game have managed to like really shine and bust out. Hell, the Beastmen, which were originally like the child whenever Total Warhammer 2 came out,
Beastmen
have
always need to be on a podcast, I see.
those are my boys. But now they are just like this crazy, like full speed ahead faction that other ones can't really match. Even they have their own thing. As it's so wonderful. It is so fun, and I have a thing where I very easily get bored with a certain game, even if it's got a lot of different things and nuances to it, even if I mod the hell out of it to be extraordinarily complex because I have a huge complexity edition when I play games. I have never ever in like 4 to 5 years gotten completely burnt out on playing the Total Warhammer series so far, and I really don't see that changing anytime soon because I have so much damn fun with it.
Yeah, yeah, I agree totally with totally worry what you just said, and I think that Total War Warhammer is what Dawn of War was for 40k.
Oh yeah, actually, that is
it it
yeah.
it really made people sink into it again. I was very similar example to you because I was in terms of fantasy I was not playing almost any game in my life in terms of fantasy. I was only playing tabletop RPG fantasy, and for a very long time when I was college I was a game master. I'm game master to this day playing in Warhammer, and the only fantasy game that I remember I played was Mark of Chaos, and it was a very bad game. I remember it as it was a very bad game. I finished like 2 campaigns in it from 6, so it meant a lot for a person that was raised on RTS games. I loved RTS game, but
Mhm.
I couldn't play it. It was too bad. Especially that this same company made Armies of Exige that I think it is one of the best RTS clone of Warcraft 3 to this day. But it's a side topic.
Mm.
But yeah, Total War Warhammer invigorated Warhammer fantasy in my life. Really, I thought that 40k is the ruler for me for a very long time. After Dawn of War also, and many books, but Total War Warhammer just won the spot for me. Really, for people that like fantasy, there is no better game. There is really no better game to sink into this grand battles fantasy world.
Yeah, same as you. I completely agree on that as well. I didn't even think of the parallel between how good this is, like the Total War is for fantasy, as Dawn of War is to 40k, and I was kind of in the same boat because growing up and playing 40k inspired games, and then running into more and more over time. Like I got the library right here, of course, all the Dawn of Wars. Um, and then there were the other ones like where Space Marine, where you just play as what was his name? Was it Titus? I don't know.
Titus, Captain Titus from
Captain Titus.
Ultramarines.
Yeah,
Oh,
and
so
that
you
game
cannot.
is so fun.
Yeah, but those would be so. We can make an episode. This is a
Fine,
side topic
I'll,
podcast
I'll I'll
because we
stop.
like to do side topics.
They say a mark of being good conversationalist is being launched into tangents all the time, which I suppose is a tangent in and of itself, actually. Anyway, so but yeah, it is. It's so far up there, and it reinvigorated my love for fantasy so much. Like I already really loved fantasy, and then there was just this drought of stuff related to fantasy that I couldn't personally partake in because I did not have the money for the models, and I didn't have any like game stores nearby where I could actually play, and that persisted for a long time until Total War Warhammer came out, and I could actually like sink my teeth into some good fantasy, and it was like reigniting a fire in me. I'd always loved characters like Nagash. Oh, I still love Nagash. He's my favorite necromancer in all of fantasy, and I'm livid. PG-13. I'm very upset that he did not ever come into two. If he doesn't come into three, I'll die. Uh,
Yeah,
just out of
there will be
spite.
a lot of DLCs for Warhammer 3, I think. But getting to the main point,
Hmm.
like how Creative Assembly was able to handle whole immersion of Warhammer as a fantasy world is, for me, is amazing. And the thing that many people don't look on are the text of events, of missions, simple things like technology description. All of those are like Warhammer just floating from your screen. And for a person that knows Warhammer Fantasy a lot, if you read some of those texts, they are amazing.
Hmm. I remember. I'm pretty sure I remember this correctly. Even before the Skaven were announced, there was an event that ticks in the game, and I remember seeing it where it's like a symbol is marked onto what looks to be an abandoned village, and I was just like, "Oh my god, that's rats, isn't it?"
Yes, they were mentioned many times. Not never directly, but yeah, things like that were great. And also, we can also mention at this point how the advertisement of Warhammer 2 looked like, because to the last month, Skaven were not announced, let's we say it, but they were leaked. There were so many leaks, like let's call it leaks with Skaven, and when the release came, those rats on the stream, those of all of you that don't know about it, but one of the streams that Total War crew had, developers,
Mm-hmm.
uh, in a very strange moment, plush rats just started to fall down from the roof, and they were saying rats, rats everywhere, and then we had this amazing trailer. So also, this is I would pin it to what you were saying, how the game really embrace this immersion, this world. You can really feel it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Here's kind of related to that. Is there any character where you thought the voice actor got them just right?
I think that I don't have problems with voice actors overall in this game. You do remember that English is not my native language, so I don't know many actors that
Mm.
give those voices. I know the guys from the Game of Thrones, etc. But the guy that's giving the voice for Gortek,
Mm.
Gortex, the dwarf, what's his name?
Go Trek. Goodness.
Gotrek. I never heard about him before, really.
Well, I meant more like in like their delivery. Like in your head, did Carl Franz always
Yeah,
sound like
there's
that?
always summon the elector counts is always sounding the same. Like we have the saying one that there was a cartoon Penguins of Madagascar or something like that,
Mm.
and they had perfect dubbing in Polish. Polish dubbing was way better than English for me, and they have something like high five. There were catchphrase of them, and
Yeah.
there are memes with it. That there's an image and high five in Polish, and you can hear it. There's same with Warhammer. When I see miniatures of Karl Franz, as you say, Tyrion, Teclis, Malekith, I can hear them. Especially Malekith from Dark Elves trailer. It only just begun, and I was like, oh, it's giving me chills to this day. One of the best trailers in the moment. I've only just begun. Sorry, he said. I've only just begun.
I have a bit of a guilty like God, it almost I like for how stupidly edgy Malekith is, how ridiculous his character is, for how like evil he's supposed to be. I still love him. He is by far my most played Dark Elf guy.
Yeah, yeah. Even he is, he, even that he's. We are getting to the second point, and second point won't be good points. So first point said by Luz was a good point. So superb immersion, really making Warhammer World alive. And I'm getting to the second point why you should not play Warhammer, and you should not play it if you're a perfectionist like I. And the thing that really bothers me the most in this game are insane gaps between legendary lords and the factions right now in vanilla.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and I have an example from this DLC that I will read to you, dear listeners and watchers on YouTube. Karl Franz trait gives +8 leadership to his army. You will say this is not a bad trait. Okay, but let's check on Volkmar the Grim. He's
A little bit of
giving
a comparison, yeah.
8 melee defense to flagellants, 3 company militia, and all knights. So 3 types of units. 8 melee defense. +10 physical resistance to again flagellants, 3 company militia, and knights. And 4 public order to his own province. And tell me, please, what's better here?
Well, obviously Carl's better.
Okay, let me go to the another comparison with faction effects. Karl Franz has +2 new levels for lords, +10 diplomacy bonus with
Mm-hmm.
empire, -15 upkeep for greatsword 1 unit. This is 1 unit only, and +10% movement for all lords. Not bad, you will say, but getting
No, not
again
bad at
to
all.
Volkmar the Grim. Magic item drops +20%. This is okay. Bonus versus infantry for flagellants, empire knights, and free company militia +8. It means that it increases damage by 8 and melee attack of those all units. Witch hunters are recruited on level 4 and also priest on level 4. So 4 bonus levels, and all archlectors and warrior priest spells I have -33% duration, cooldown reduction. Yeah.
Well, one thing that you have to consider is that as Carl Franz has the campaign movement increase, that means he's got to go fast. So obviously, he's the better choice.
Okay, so then why should you play Karl Franz if you can start at Volkmar and just recruit Karl Franz?
You know what? Completely invalid. Why would you play either of them when you can just play Balthazar Gelt?
Yeah, the Balthazar Gelt is even better because Gelt have a crazy faction bonus. I need to find him.
Gelt has all the goodness.
Yes, +10 armor for all units. Upkeep reduction -50% for wizards. You can make 3 wizards thanks to it. Cap for all wizard +2. So it means like how many wizards they have? 5 or 6. So let's say at least
Mm-hmm.
10 free, 10, 12 free heroes and
God.
increased stuff with climates. So yeah, but this is only a small example. but when you compare, let's say, Krogar to Oxyotl, what
Mm,
Krogar have? Krogar have as a leader, as a faction, he have minus 10% upkeep for all units.
I mean,
This is all. This is all. He doesn't have anything. But let me finish. Oxyotl have melee attack, melee defense, and leadership for each plus one for each skink rank. Damage bonus, melee and missile for 1% for all skinks for each rank, and minus 25% upkeep for all skinks. And I'm not even talking about sacred sanctums, about his mechanics, teleportation, missions, items, everything.
well, um, hmm, Krotgar gets to ride a big lizard. How about that?
Yeah. Even going further, Malekith against Rakar. Malekith, besides starting position, have really nothing right now.
Hmm.
This is the thing that I think this is the biggest problem of this game right now that could be easy fixed with temporary stuff. Like let's see on the Karl Franz stuff again. He have this movement plus 10, Guard minus 15, diplomacy plus 10, and new lords plus 2. Why not just double it? Easy fix. He doesn't get any mechanics, but his campaign effects are strong. Just double it, like that. Or his even trait that's like plus 8 leadership, make it 15, and he will be viable. He will be good compared to Volkmar. Because if you want to have everything OP as we have right now in the game since the Warden and the Punch DLC,
Hmm.
then why not just increase the stuff a little bit? And this is the thing that bothers me so much in Vanilla right now.
There's a lot of I don't know. Obviously, I'm not like working in a big studio, and I'm not even a modder like Vendors here is. But these just seem like 30-minute fixes,
Yeah,
including turning stuff on and turning it back off again.
easy,
And
easy stuff.
yeah, and I don't understand why that just doesn't get done. Um, Not like in like a belittling sense. I cannot comprehend why that wouldn't just be done. It seems like the tiniest thing to be able to do. I don't know. I don't know.
So yeah, sadly, gaps between legendary lords are a thing that I really 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 hate with this game, and also gaps between factions right now, because we have factions like Lizardmen as a faction that literally have almost nothing. That they have Croak, Blessed units, Edicts, Geomantic Web. Those things are really not working when you compare them to how polished the Skaven are in the game right now. Even Empire, even Bretonia, and
God, just by themselves, the Skaven's undercities
yeah,
beat anything else that the Lizardmen have, and then each individual Skaven faction has something so nuanced that it could be an entire other faction's
even
big
the small
thing.
things, as we were saying, Skrulk was very generic on the release, and they gave him plagues with this very simple fix.
Hmm.
This is a fix on a level of doubling effects for Cloud for me, really. Of course, in terms of tables and actual work, it's more, but the result would be the same. I know many people say that no, you're playing this faction, you like this legendary org, you have better experience, etc. But for me, the problem is that playing as Cal France, you will
Hmm.
never get the same level of power as playing as, let's say, Oxyotl or even Wolfheart, because
Hmm.
you just don't have any means to do it. This faction, this lord, doesn't have anything.
And it just feels bad. I have often, well, excuse me, I'm not often, but I can recall several times where it's like, man, it feels really, you know, who I'm in the mood to play X or Y character right now. But then I look and I'm just like, oh my god, I don't want to deal with their lack of. anything to do, or their starting location, or just the grind you have to go through in order to start having fun with them. When I can just, like you said, play a different faction and then in a couple of turns confederate them or anything like that.
Yeah, this is also with Beastmen right now, with Taurox. Taurox, for
Yeah.
example, there's no reason to play other Beastmen right now, especially that you can just summon other legendary lords.
Yeah, I mean, you play Torox and you press the I want to play as Malagor button, and it's not even he comes out of the Lord pool and you can start building him up. You just also get him and all the work he's already done. That part's crazy. That is the craziest part.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, it's like an Uber conversion. At least I like this mechanic, but yeah,
I like it too, but there's not a lot that can you can compare it to. Like you can kind of say Greenskin and Northskin leadership butting heads confederation, but it's so much faster and easier than that.
yeah,
God, and I guess that this all segues into a point that I had. I have a point of contention. This is my side of the maybe not play Warhammer 2 thing, like he was saying, and that is, um, I didn't know how bad some of it was until a friend of mine convinced me to get Shogun 2, and then I started playing it and other older titles, and that made me think about other RTS games and grand strategy games that I enjoy playing. And as I noted, said earlier, I have an addiction to complexity in my games, and I just surface level. And this happens every time that something new comes out, like an official DLC, and I have to scrub all the mods out. It's so bare bones. Like there's a clear right decision for every faction in a given situation. There's not a whole lot of give and take where if I don't do this, um, I can do this instead. It's more of a case of if I don't do this, this is just completely suboptimal and bad tactically. And I don't that doesn't do it for me. Like
yeah. It feels like you don't have a choice sometimes.
yeah, it feels like I don't have a choice, or it feels like that there's just a lacking of things to do, especially like what you were saying with some factions. It's just like make army of 20 units and run in one direction for a lot of them,
Yeah, because
and there's nothing else going on with the faction at all, which may sound a bit hypocritical considering how much I like the Beastmen. But whenever I'm playing someone like Carl Franz or the Witch King Malekith, and we talked about both of them quite a lot. Carl, I want to run an empire. That's what I want out of my empire fantasy. Malekith, I don't want to just feel like a big shot dark elf. I would like to have Malekith pursue his goal of taking over Ulthuan. I want that to be a bigger part of it. And people will, and these are just examples because some people really like their sandbox. Malekith decides he hates Tomb Kings and just runs across the ocean. Whatever. I'm not saying make it to where it's completely out of the player's hands, but at least like give the characters more identity, make them more complex, make the campaigns they have more complex. Because hell, it really feels like the difference between Malekith and his mother, who should have like different goals, or just the starting location. That's all the
yeah.
difference is. It feels like.
Yeah, your point is very valid and so linked with my. I have a friend that recently started to play Warhammer, and he was playing on. He didn't bought any DLC, only had Warhammer 1 with DLCs, and started playing Warhammer 2.
Mm-hmm.
And he was playing some of the non DLC factions, and he said that they're great in compared to Warhammer 1, because Warhammer 1 the factions, none of them had complexity, so the
Yeah.
gaps weren't, but it wasn't a bad thing at the time, because no complexity means that all of them were equally fun, let's say.
Mm-hmm.
But with the DLC that I'm always going to compare, the Grom and the Punch gave so much quality in terms of faction reworks, the greenskins, the cool mechanics, even the Elfarion cave at the time was said that was bad in compared to the food mechanic that Grom had. I think it's one of the better mechanics that CA made. I like
I do
the
too.
Elfarion cave because it have a lot of choices, really a lot of choices. But my point here right now the biggest one is that when my friend was starting to playing, and I showed him the DLC, I think it was the Malus DLC or the Snitch, yeah, the Shadow and the Blade,
Hmm.
and I showed him the real Skaven Lord, what he can do, and he was like, he felt scammed that the
Oh my god!
DLC and the free DLC, the later ones, were way better that were done under the release and never got updated.
I It's very valid. I I completely understand where he's coming from,
This
and
Mhm.
it's yeah, it's completely in line with what we're saying. It's well, no, because that's a different conversation about like uh, paying content. Should paid content be so much better than the game required to play it, or blah blah blah? But it's essentially the same thing because what we're asking for is that every character feels as good as each other,
Yeah. And
right?
you need to also compare that someone is not playing the new content on a release. The friend of
Hmm.
mine was playing recently, so he don't know that this DLC was released with XYZ. So when he looks on the DLC content in compared to what is in the game right now,
Hmm.
this is the thing that we were talking with the last DLC review, that paying for this DLC is okay because we are not getting only DLC but only also good free content.
Yeah.
But if you are not in a loop right now of Warhammer content, it can feel a very mixed, you know.
I've never really thought of that because I've for the last 5 years I've kept up with everything with these two games. I don't really have any roots in understanding just coming into it and seeing it for what it is currently. I want to spend some more time thinking about that before I really talk more about it.
We
That's
need
very
to
interesting.
find a noob and make a podcast with him.
Do you want to have your friend on?
Oh, he's not speaking English well.
Ah,
He's
shame.
speaking even less than me.
I have nothing nice to say, so I'm going to be quiet there.
Yeah, he will be like make subtitles, you know. And yeah, my son just learned how to do.
Precious.
Yeah, he's like, okay, but not how
That's
he's
so
doing.
cute.
Yeah,
And
as he
another
saw
one
it
on the
in.
way. God,
Yeah,
man.
we were watching Asterix and Obelix, and he saw it and asked, "What is it that?" Yeah, and I said him, "This okay, but he's not doing it." But yeah, I think we can stop whining because we gave one good point, two bad points, and we can go to the final point. The point that I think is the best in the game is diversity. This game is diversity, the diversity that made me come back to Total War also, because I was not playing Total War since, I don't want to lie, Rome. I think I never played Shogun. Rome, yeah, Rome was the game, the last Total War that I was playing. I played very briefly in Medieval 2,
Hmm.
but always had different stuff on my mind. But Total War, Warhammer, and how diverse factions are in this game. Even if we are not looking only on the complex mechanics that we are talking in campaign,
Hmm.
but sheer units, abilities, visuals, UI style, icons. My God, this is insane how this game diverses right now, and it's still growing.
You know what? I have You'll appreciate this. You like chaos. Even with my complaints earlier about some campaigns feeling very samey and some characters having a lot less going on with them than others. Um, just within the measly three different Chaos Lords we have right now between Archeon, Kolek, and Pretty Boy McGee, uh, the campaign for at least personally for me between playing as Archeon, the Ever Chosen, and playing Kolek, the PG-13. The beat everything up guy. I don't know. I'm not really good at not cursing. It feels so much different. The just directing those two forces, which are ostensibly the same, those the minor changes between the two still lends to some very different gameplay, and I love that. I'm in the same boat
Mhm.
as you are. I love how, like, going back to Eltharion, the cage versus, and like not versus, but Lithanar's. I have assassins and I have quests to go assassinate people across the
Yeah,
globe. Stuff like that. So cool and so different. Not just starting location, but how you think about what to do. Um, I really, really enjoy that. Also, side thing, I really love how Eltharion's campaign mechanic kind of incentivizes you to actually fight battles so you can use it. And I think that was very clever, and I kind of want more of that.
it has a disadvantage that the cage is not really working in Auto Resolve still.
Yeah.
Just a minor thing, but yeah, this is funny because uh, I think the biggest advantage of this game links with the disadvantage. So the gaps between Legendary Lord and the factions, but still, if you look on the surface, it's amazing. Really, you can play vampires that doesn't have any range units, can raise their dead against, let's say, dwarf that are turtle factions and have a lot of range units, artillery, and also vampire cons. Even that I don't like this faction, I respect it that it's working. A faction made of range units mostly that it's just working, or lizards that are riding other lizards. Everything works in this game, and how much love and work CA put in different animations, the feeling of these factions, because none of the faction doesn't feel as this faction. They may
Hmm.
lack mechanics, but as you're playing Lizardman, you feel an ancient being that's protecting this world. Even chaos that is bare bones right now, you feel it's a chaos. It's a chaos faction.
Yeah, I've never had in deep in my most foul moods. I've never been playing a faction and lost a battle and started blaming it on how these don't even feel like the blah blah blahs. They honestly, it's very apparent that a lot have care has went into making this, and people like to harp on them for tiny, nitpicky, nuancing details, but they also forget several instances where it's like, hey, this Calidor man, Imric, here's an entire faction, or an entire new thing, and he's got a whole series of super quests going on and new units and all that. Here, take it. Oh,
Yeah.
here's just sync kill animations. We made these on our day off because we thought they were super cool and wanted to share them with the community. Take them. Stuff like that. You can't just ignore that the good and only hold the bad against CA. I think that's very, very unfair.
Yeah, yeah. This is a point that people talk about quite a lot when they are saying very bad things about the game, and some other can say that it's hate, it's unfair criticism. But I think that many people criticize on CA because they know that they can do amazing stuff.
Hmm.
Really, they can make Jabber Slide. They can make Calador, like you were saying, the whole faction with Prince Imrek. That's are amazing. And then they can make Kotal.
It's yeah, it's very, you can't expect perfection every time. That's unfair. However, I can expect a degree of competency from you. You've shown that you can hit the nail on the head multiple times.
Yeah,
I just want that. I want that level of stuff in
hmm,
general, not a snake with a block for a head.
yeah, yeah. And I still think that with all the disadvantages, things that you should not play the game, are
Hmm.
nothing compared why you should play it. Because if you like
Yeah.
RTS, if you like fantasy, then you should sell your chair and buy everything that is in Warhammer 2. Really, this game is worth it. Every penny is worth it. I have over 3,000 hours in this game right now, and I
No
don't
regrets.
regret any hour. in it. Of course, many of those hours were modding, but I still don't regret it. I'm playing this game to this day for over 4 years right now, and I can't say about any game.
That I've only there's only one other game that I've consistently played throughout the years. It's a little tiny game. Some of you may have heard of it. It is called Team Fortress 2. It has a little degree of pedigree.
Oh, if we are
Um,
talking about such games, then yeah, I have such games, but not such so regularly as Warhammer 2.
that's what I'm trying to say is the fact that it can even compare to something as addictive and fun as like these other decades long titles is crazy. For what was initially a niche genre and a kind, well, not really a niche in liking Warhammer, but just like it definitely was not a mainstream topic. And the fact that it has done so well and commanded my attention for so many years, it's so well done, man. It's so good.
Imagine when we get Warhammer 3 and its life cycle will be ending, and this massive package with all the DLCs and everything. I don't want to think about the price even, how much money I spent on this game.
Yeah, I'm trying not to think about that part, but but I what I'm looking forward to, I'm going to be fully transparent, is I'm waiting until the end of the development cycle of all three games, so things quit updating, and I can just spend my twilight years modding this series until I die, getting up to that 300-400 mod list echelon that I strive for.
Yeah, so you won't need to update it with every DLC again.
It kills me. I laugh just through the pain.
Yeah, this is also a thing that I think that we did not talk about, but this would be a mutual point. Modding this game is amazing.
It
I'm not
really
talking.
is.
I'm not talking about overhauls packages like SFO, because those do not compare to those small quality of life mods that, damn it, this game will live forever thanks to mods.
Hmm. There,
Really.
it is. It's like a master stroke on CA's part too, because there
Yeah.
are games that are only still alive because of the extensive modding tools and opportunity for players to, play around with the game. Skyrim is going on a decade now. It's not going on the back of it just being an Elder Scrolls game. It's going on the back of what you can do to it as a moddable game.
Yeah.
XCOM 2, same
The
thing.
best thing that Skyrim got was from Bethesda part, stop supporting it. Because the moment when official patches stopped releasing, modders went crazy.
Hmm. I quick thing. Occasionally, you know what? I'm not even going to go down. I'll talk about Bethesda. I'm trying to be very measured in what I say right now. I'll talk about Bethesda on another podcast because that's a long topic for me.
Yeah, I was reading about the stuff with the Bannerlords right now situation and Tailworks and
Oh
Nexus mods.
God, yeah,
There are a lot of topics around modding right now that I think we will talk about them in the podcast for sure.
that sounds fun. Yeah, looking
Because
forward to that.
modding situation changes quite rapidly.
Oh my God, just I'm not going to talk about it because there are some words that I would have to use to speak about it uh, right
I
now.
like Fallout 76.
Uh, there is something that has been going on in the Skyrim scene in the last week, I think, that has been sending ripples throughout that entire community, which has been like, oh my god, levels of stuff going on. So if you're interested in that, I'm not one to spread drama, but it is actually kind of impacting a lot of things right now. Because that's all I'm going to say. Look into it if
Yeah.
you're interested.
Yeah, I know. I was reading about this a little bit today, but getting back to Total Warhammer,
Yeah, yeah.
the way that some people can say that Creative Assembly doesn't have a good contact with the community, but it's not often that they contact with the community, CA, but when they do, I think they do it properly, because the way that they handle modding and how they're handling even the memes that community are making.
Yeah.
Because we have a lot of situations right now around the world that you were saying with the Skyrim mods. We have situations with what's happening Activision Blizzard right now.
Hmm.
how disgusting things, deaths from Blizzard and Activision, not all of them, but some of them talking about people like Asmongold, for example, the biggest
Hmm.
influencer, the guy that's selling the game for them, is just terrible. And I think that Creative Assembly is really handling all of this perfectly. I think that we don't know about 90% that's happening behind the scenes with this game,
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
but they are sorting things out. And everything that we have right now with this game, how amazing it is. For those that you don't know, Norska was not planned as a DLC, but we got it because just people like it, because people were
Yeah.
asking for it. Just see did it.
There were so many.
I
Yeah.
sure that if people would not like it, we would never get Gorgon and Jabberslide.
But
We
they
didn't want
they
it co-op,
listened.
but we got it. But it's a different part.
But there were so many memes about Sir the Ek and his chariots and Are You a God and all this other fun stuff about
Yeah,
Norska. They basically, the community memed an entire faction into existence, and CA was just like, yeah, okay, here, take it.
yeah,
8 months later.
yeah. So I think that the uh, biggest thing that you can say that is advantage of taking this game is
Hmm.
CA, because CA won't allow this game to die. It's
They,
supporting it in a way, with all those free updates, modding, community. It just works, as the guy from Bethesda said.
you may have heard of
60
him.
times better.
I, it's, I don't know what's safe to say here. I will say that before I have seen that how Games Workshop handles licensing out their things, that other studios have had issues they could not resolve very easily. And here we are with CA still doing quite well 5 years later, doing so well that
Yeah,
fantasy has like been just completely revitalized for a lot of people.
yeah, and every how can I say it? Especially when Games Workshop is reviving the old world right now, and Total War Warhammer 3 will be on the front of this promotion, really, because we just saw units that probably will be released as a tabletop soon.
I'm so scared to get my hopes up. I've been hurt before.
Bears everywhere. There will be a lot of bears. Not
No.
birds, but bears. Like these animals.
Oh,
But yeah, this not funny joke from my side, who I think will wrap up this podcast episode of why you should play Warhammer 2 and why you should not play it. Overall, this is not a surprise. Both Luz and I think that you should play it. You
oh
should
yeah.
just play it because we are still playing it with mods, without mods. We're just playing it and having fun.
Matter of fact, as soon as we're done with the podcast, I have Kadron's Mod Manager open on a different screen that I plan to start playing around with Total War Warhammer.
I hope you are not playing while we're recording.
Of course not. I'm a professional, kinda.
Of course not, but I need to click and turn here. Sorry. Yeah. So, guys, you can listen us on Anchor. Anchor is a site that have a lot of other podcast sites like Spotify, RRS, Radio Public, Pocket Cast, Google Podcast, and Breaker. You can listen us on all of those, also on YouTube. And remember that you can follow Luz.
On my Twitch, and I also
Yes.
have a YouTube that is kind of dead, but it'll come back eventually.
Yeah. Everything is in the description, and also you can link this podcast, subscribe to it, like it, and push the bell. How
Push every button that you can find.
Yeah, push every button that you can find on the bottom of this video, and also support us on SFO Patreon, where rewards are linked with this podcast. And also, Luz doesn't know it, but on the beginning of this episode, we will have an first honor Patreon of it. So it will be a surprise for you when it will be released, because it is one of our SFO rewards that for every YouTube video that we have an honor Patreon. So yeah, you will be surprised.
Mm, mm, mm.
Ah,
This wasn't
it's
in my contract.
good that we don't have a contract. And with this good, again, not funny joke from our side, thanks everyone for listening, and I hope we will see and listen, hear each other quite soon.
Take care, everybody.